So as we get started today, this video is divided into chapters. If you want to skip at any point, just look at the sliding bar underneath the plating window and you can see the chapters to skip ahead. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as my friends over at yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we are going to work on this blanket. This is called the Mock Cable Crochet Blanket. And this is using granite blanket in the ombre. And the ombre, it's actually changing color on its own, and that's what you're seeing going on in this particular sample. So it needs a total of 7 balls. In today's tutorial I am going to substitute the yarn with the regular size hook, a 5.5mm size eye, and I'll be using Red Heart Super Saver ombre today. So just for demonstration reasons I'm just changing out the yarn. If you would like to change the size of this particular blanket into anything else, the multiples are 7 chains plus 11. So you'll do 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, and when you're happy with the width of it, you'll just add 11 more chains in order to find the balance. So there is a crochet diagram available to you. It is on page number 2. And I have a blow up of that. I'm going to leave the tassels off of this tutorial because we have learning how to make tassels already here on the YouTube channel. And today's focus is just how to do the base of this. And then of course page number 3 is just a nice blown up sample of what you could have. So let's go to the diagram and let's decipher this even further. So here's the crochet diagram, and this is just a smaller sample of what we're going to be doing. Remember that the multiples are 7 plus then 11. So 7, 7, 7, and then add 11 to have the balance so that you can do this. So what we're going to do is that we're going to get ourselves started on the foundation row. I am going to give a special tip that normally I would teach it a different way. So I'm going to be giving you that on the foundation as we start. So we'll be kicking off this foundation as we go. So these particular loops are made up of 12 chains. You see that, but for easier reading purposes that it just shows you these lines, but it's represented by its chain 12. Now when you get all the way to the very top of this, when you're getting all the way to the end, so you just keep repeating this rows number 1 through 4 until you're satisfied. But the very final row, so the final one, so you have 1, 2, 3, and then the final row would be then attaching this single crochet to this loop so it'll hold it into position. So that's kind of a neat idea, right? So then you can add your tassels to the end of these pieces when you're getting to the end of the project. So without further ado, I'm just going to show you this demonstration on how to do this mock cable crochet blanket. So using an M as in Michael, a 9mm crochet hook with your granite blanket ombre, you can start this, and I'm just using a 5.5mm size eye and my Red Heart Super Saver ombre. We're going to create a slip knot to begin. So you can either chain 95 if it's the granite blanket sample. Everybody else that would like to change their sizes or use thinner yarn, then what you can just do is do the multiples of 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Are you happy? Yes or no? If not, keep on going. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Same question, happy or not? If not, keep going. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Once you're happy with the width of this, then what you need to do is add 11, and that'll keep the balance. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So either do that or chain 95 and you're good to go. So let's begin the foundation row. So let's begin our foundation row. You're going to go second chain from the hook and you're gonna single crochet. So just count back 1 and 2. And normally what I do is that I go and I turn it around to the back hump. So if you've been with me a long time, you know that I do that. On granite blanket, if you do that, it becomes a really huge gap at the end because it's such a thick yarn. So if you're the granite blanket version, or if you prefer this way, just go into the second chain from the hook and make sure that there's 2 strands on top and there's only 1 left in behind, and that will close in that gap that you may have. So you're just gonna single crochet. You're going to then chain 1 and you're going to skip the next chain and go to the second one over and again single crochet, and then chain 1, skip the next one and go to the second over and single crochet. So this is where we start doing those big loops. So we're now going to chain a total of 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Once you have that done, you're going to immediately go to the very next chain and you're going to single crochet in. So remember that these loops are directly beside each other on the chain. like the loop is directly beside, so you're not skipping over anything. So let's start another repeat. So you're gonna chain one, you're gonna skip the next one, go to the second chain over, single crochet, chain one, skip the next chain and go second chain over and single crochet, chain one, skip the next chain, go to the second over, and then this is the base of the next chain 12 loop that you did. So let's do that again. So we're going to do that chain 12 loop. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 and come directly to the next chain, so you're not skipping over anything. So let's do another repeat then to get ourselves to the next loop. So just chain one, skip the next chain, go over, okay, chain one, skip one, go to the next chain, and then do it again. So chain one, skip one, and go to the next chain, and there is the base of your next chain 12 loop. So chain 12, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 and 12, coming directly to the next one. Okay, so then start again. So chain one, skip one, go to the next chain, and then chain one, skip one, go to the next chain, and then chain one, skip one, go to the next chain, and this will be the base of the next loop that you'll have. So another 12. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12, and then coming back into the next chain that's available to you. So you're just going to continue to repeat that over and over, and they should be equally spaced, all these loops. And then eventually when you come to the other side, which I'm about to do, is that you're going to just chain one, skip one chain, chain one, and skip the next chain, and you should be at the very end. If you have one left over, you can just undo this knot and then get yourself back to balance. But at this point, in the size that I did, I now have 4 of these mock cable loops to go. So let's turn our work and begin row number 1, and rows number 1 through 4 is the repeat pattern. When we start row number 1, we're going to be on the wrong side of the work. So if you want to put WS on this side of the graph and RS on this side, so it's wrong side, right side, that might help you. So what we need to concentrate is, do you see these single crochets that are side by side? This chain is not counted ever as a stitch. That's why it's being pinned down over here. So everything will be pushed together once you start looping these things together. So you're single crocheting on this side and this side of the loop. So if you notice, it continues all the way up. It's the spaces in between that has you jumping over. So when we start, because we have to start jumping, we cannot jump until the first one is filled in, and then we jump and then come back down. And so then you do these, and then you're jumping over, and you're jumping over, and then you do these. So if you look at it from that perspective, it's a little bit easier than it is to kind of look at it individually. So let's move on. We're now officially going to go to rows number 1 2 3 and 4. That's the repeat pattern until we get to the very end. And so what we're looking at, row number 1, is the wrong side of the work. So just keep that in mind. So the first time that you have these loops, make sure that you leave it to the back. So whenever you're doing row number 1, the new loop that was created in the row before, make sure you push it to the back, which will be the right side of the work. So let's begin row number 1. We're going to chain 1, and because there's a space in the second one over, that gives us a clue on what we need to do. So what we're going to do is that we're going to fill in the same stitch that comes right out, and we're also going to fill in this first chain 1 space, and that's where you're going to start doing some jumping. So you're gonna chain 1, and you'll jump over the next single crochet, and you'll go right into the space, and that's just before the loop, and then you'll go into the same stitch as the loop itself, and leave that loop on the back side, which is the right side of the work. So come right into this other side where the loop is coming into, that came around. So you're gonna go into that stitch, and to the next chain 1 space. And then therefore you're gonna start skipping stitches again. So chain 1, you'll skip over the next one and single crochet into the next space, chain 1, skip over to the next chain 1 space, and the loop is there. So when the loop is there, you're going to single crochet into the base of the loop, move that loop so it's on the other side, which is the right side of the work, and then single crochet the next. So you'll be frogging if you leave that loop facing towards you. So now we're gonna start again. So come into the next space, chain 1, skip the single crochet, go right into the space, chain 1, skip the next one, go right into the space, and the loop is next. So that means that we have to go to the base of the loop, single crochet, keep the loop away from me, and go into the base of the other side of that loop. Then come into the space, chain 1, jump over, go into the next space, chain 1, go into the next space, and the loop is there. So go into the loop, stitch, and then just keep it to the other side and come into the loop on the other side. And you're gonna keep repeating that over and over. Just refer to the diagram if you need any additional help. And basically after the loop is in, you're going to go into the next space, chain 1, jump over, and come into the space and the final stitch, and that will take you all the way across row number 1. So the loops should now be in the front like this when you turn it around for row number 2. Let's begin row number 2. In row number 2, what's gonna happen is that we're going to chain 1, single crochet in the first one, and because there's a single crochet here, we're immediately going to chain 1 and jump right to the space, chain 1, and we just go into the ones that are here. Okay, so this 2 single crochets in a row, and then we start jumping again, and jump and jump, and then 2 in a row. So let's do row number 2. So as we do row number 2, we're going to chain 1, and we'll single crochet in the first one, which is the edge, and then we're immediately going to chain 1. So there's already a single crochet below, so we can't go in there. So we're gonna come into the first chain 1 space, and then chain 1 and jump over the next one, and the 2 that are right in the middle where the loop is, that's the 2 that you're always gonna be there. So you'll single crochet 2 in a row, and then you'll start jumping again. So chain 1 and jump over the next one and go right into the space, chain 1 to jump and go right into the next space, chain 1 to jump, and what you're jumping over is that you're just jumping over the next one and going into the 2 that are part of that looping area. So there's 2 in a row, and then we start jumping again. So chain 1 to jump, go right to the space, chain 1 and jump over, chain 1 and then jump, and we're right at the looping area, so there's 2 in a row, chain 1 to jump, and you just keep on jumping over where you can. So here's the base of the loop, so you have those 2 in a row, chain 1 and then jump over, go right into the space and chain 1, and eventually at the very end you'll just go right into the end. There we go, and that was row number 2. Let's turn our work and do row number 3. In row number 3, we're going to chain up 1, and you'll just put a single crochet in the first space and then jump. So you basically see how we had 4 in a row here, so we're gonna have 4 in a row right here. Do you see that? So there's 4, and basically you're looking for these jumping spaces and just making sure that you just stay in line, so when you come all the way across you'll fill it right to the end. And let's try row number 3. Let's try row number 3. So when we look at it, we chain up 1 and we single crochet in the first one. That's always gonna be the standard, and then you're basically looking, see there's a space here, so you're gonna have to fill that in first before you can start doing all the jumping work, right? So you'll fill in the space and then chain 1 to jump, and these 2 are the middle of the looping area, so you'll put in single crochet for each of those and into the next space. So on row number 3 when you have these loops, you'll have the single crochet into the space, the two that are part of the loop area, and the single crochet after the looping area. Chain 1 to jump, and now let's jump to the next loop. Chain 1 and jump, and this is part of the next. See how there's 2 in a row? So it's kind of if you look for that, it's easier, and you'll have 2 of those that you have to fill in and the space after it. So again, the space before, the 2 that are part of the loop area, and the space after, and then start jumping. So chain 1 and jump to the next one that we have. So here's the loop, so here's the space before the looping area, so fill in the loops and the space after, and then begin to jump. I really think you're for this particular one, the diagram is really quite helpful. Oops, make sure that in the looping area you stay and don't jump over it, keep it solid. That helps keep those loops in the front, and do the space right after it. So eventually you'll come all the way to the other side, so just chain 1 to jump, and then the last stitch is available for you, and this becomes then, that was row number 3, and now we're gonna head into number 4. As we head into number 4, so we're gonna start up and we're going to single crochet in the first one and then jump, and then we're in the space and then jump. So we have the one that is the middle one here. This is see how there's the 4? It's the second one in. It'll be a single crochet, a chain 12, and then a single crochet directly after it, and then you start jumping again. So just keep that in mind as we go. So let's try number 4. Okay, let's try number 4. We're gonna chain 1 and we'll single crochet in the first one, and then chain 1 to jump, and I have to jump because single crochet is directly below it. So we're gonna jump, come to the next space, chain 1, and we're going to jump. So there's 4 here, so we're jumping over 1, and that'll take you to the first one right here. That is part of the loop, so that's that one, and then chain 12. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 and 12, and then coming into the stitch right after it with the single crochet, and now a new loop is ready for you for next time. So chain 1 to jump, and then we just jump over the next single and go right to the space, and then we keep jumping in the spaces until we get to the next loop. Okay, so there's 4. It's always the second one in is the single crochet after the jump, and then chain 12. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12, and then you're just gonna come into the next stitch, single crochet, and then jump. Chain 1 to jump, and just go in the spaces until you get to the next loop. Okay, there's the 4 coming into the second one, and then chain 12. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12, and then come to the one right after it, and then start jumping. So chain 1 to jump. I think once you get used to this pattern, it'll become easier. So 1 2 3 4 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 and 12, and then coming into the next one, and then chain 1 to jump, come into the next space, and then you're on the end. So chain 1 to jump the next one and go right into the end, and that was row number 4. So now that we know what side the loops are on, we can just automatically know that when we have to turn and start from row 1 again, we just got to make sure these loops stay on the other side. So let's turn our work and let's talk. So now that I just did rows number 1 through 4, you're going to repeat 1s through 4 as many times as you would like to do with this. So the pattern suggests that you are going to repeat that until it's about 61.5 inches in height, and then you're going to do the last row, which the last row will then have you secure that final loop. So before you can do the very last row, these have to be looped in. So what I'm going to do off camera is that I'm going to do rows number 1 through 3 one more time, and then I'll show you how to fasten that off. But if you want to keep on going for your blanket, it's just rows 1 through 4, and just remember that the 4th row will be changed once you get to the very final of the final row of the blanket. So I'll meet you there in just a moment. So let's say that I'm happy with the height of this, so I would have repeated 1 through 4, 1 through 4, 1 through 4. Once I'm happy with the width of it, I have to end on row number 3, and it's gonna be the 4th row that's gonna slightly change, so we're not gonna create the loop to continue on because we're gonna be done. But before you can do the very final row, what you have to do is you have to loop these into each other. So you just take the bottom base of where you started. Sometimes people put a 1/2 twist on it, so you look at it like this, and they put a 1/2 twist on it to kind of close it off. That's up to you if you want to do that. And then you just feed the next loop without a twist, so the remaining of the loops doesn't need a twist. And so that's something that you can do. So if you have it and you don't twist it, then what you have is this, and you have to decide what you like better. Okay, with a twist or without a twist. Okay, so I'm gonna put a twist on it because that's what I'm used to, but you can decide what's more important for you. So you wanna go through your whole blanket, and you wanna go all the way up to where the last loop is. And then once you're ready for that, then you can officially do the very last row, and when we do the last row, we're going to just secure it into position so that you don't have to sew those down later. So let's begin the final row. So the final row is just like you're doing row number 4, but without adding any extra chains to it. So what you're going to do is make sure everything is looped and ready to go, and so you'll just chain 1, single crochet into the first, and then you need to jump, so chain 1 to jump, come on over right there, and what you're going to do then is just chain 1 and jump, and when you go into the next 2, those are where the loops are supposed to be if you were to add more loops. So you're gonna do the first one single crochet, and the second one you have to take the very last loop, make sure that it is secured, and you are going to single crochet through that loop right into the actual outside of it to the stitch. Okay, so it's holding. So then you're going to then at this point chain 1, skip the next one, and go into the space and jump. So let's jump, keep jumping over until we get over to the next loop. Okay, so we got the first one. This is part of the loop space, so that was the first one, and the second one we peel back, and we're gonna now go through the loop and through the stitch, and single crochet, and then chain 1 and start jumping again. And now all that's doing is it's holding it into position so that you don't have to sew. So you're just gonna whip along just doing that. I find looping these mock braids are actually quite fun. And then eventually you'll get to the other side, and that's where your story will end, and I'll just show you how to fasten off, and therefore your loops are now in position. If you feel like they're a little bit off, that's intentional because you can't go, you have to favor one side or the other, but it actually works out really quite lovely, and I'll show you how to fasten off. Once you think you're done and you're ready to go, any loose ends that you have, you want to use a tapestry needle, especially with burnout blanket, and you want to catch it into the stitch work for sure. So if you weave it in, chances are it will fall out, so you just have to be kind of make sure that this is part of your journey of just making sure you get those tails to go in. So turning your blanket to the back side and just glide it through the stitch work itself, and you want to go back and forth a total of 3 times. When you pull on it, make sure you do not change the shape of your blanket by pulling too tight. Okay, so just kind of the first pull, just kind of snug it up a bit, and then the second across, and finally the third. So you always go in a slightly different path each time, so it really gets stuck in there. And you'll want to do this with any loose ends that you'll have. And therefore the ends should always be hidden. And then you can just add your tassels to the tops and the bottoms of these sections, and that's what it is today. So this is the mock cable crochet blanket. Have a good day. We hope to see you again real soon. Bye bye.